Welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect Podcast. My name's Winter Phonander. I'm a comedian. This is my show. So welcome to the show, guys. This is episode 47 with a very scientific and very funny Robyn Perkins. I met Robyn a few years ago at a gig, and she's a lovely person and very funny too. She MCs regularly at Angel for Barry Ferns, and she also runs two of her own nights. She's also previewing her show around the country in London, Edinburgh, and also Brighton. The dates for Brighton are the 18th, 19th and 20th, and that is at 5:45 in the Blue Man. That is the 18th, 19th and 20th in the Blue Man at 5:45 in Brighton. If you want to come see her in London, she's also doing her show on July 9th at the Four Thieves in London. That's July 9th at the Four Thieves in London. And you can see the time for that on her website, which is robynperkins.com. You can also follow this podcast on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. You can follow me at Winter Phonander. You can also follow my live stand-up gig dates, which are on my website, which is winterphonander.com. Now, if you want to support the podcast, you can. You can go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast. You can donate as little as £1 or as much as you feel this podcast is worth. And those of you that do donate, thank you, because you're paying for the people that can't. And those of you that can't, look, just share your favourite episode, tell your friends about it, or go to the iTunes website and leave us a nice, honest review, because it tells people where we are and what we're doing. I'm also still looking through that Guinness Encyclopedia and taking as many jokes as I can out of that encyclopedia and putting them up on Twitter under the title The Book Dad Read. And the Twitter handle for that is @GuinnessJokes. I'm going to get on that. This podcast, as I said before, was weekly, but now, after the 50th episode, it's going to be reduced to 1 or 2 a month. And the updates for those, you can find them on the Comedy Defect Facebook group. The other guests will still be coming on the show, but at a reduced rate, because I'm just so busy with other stuff at the moment. This is a great episode with a very funny, incredibly likeable Robyn Perkins. Enjoy. Robyn Perkins,
hello.
Welcome to the Comedy Defect. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. What have you been up to?
Today or in life?
In general, in comedy. What have you been doing?
In comedy, I have been working on a show called Robyn's Bad Decision Time. That's my current show that I'm working on, which is very exciting. I am starting to look at my scientific mind and how that affects my day-to-day existence. Mm-hmm. So that is the current situation in comedy. I feel like this is way too broad of a... Let me just jump in there. I don't know.
No, it's fine. Look, so you're a scientist by trade.
I'll tell you my life history. How about that? So from the age of 6, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Worked my whole life to do it, have a degree in that, still am involved in a charity, but then decided it wasn't creative enough, so got a master's in architecture, then was an architect for a while, which is what brought me over to this country, and then about 5.5 years ago, on a whim, took a comedy course, and I've been doing comedy ever since. So my background is both science, architecture, and now comedy.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say we're looking around your flat, and it's amazing the spaces that you've created. You've just managed to use every ounce of space in your entire flat here. It's amazing. I'm loving it. It's just great. I mean, I have a shipping container, and I thought, wow, I've got my things nailed down, right? You know, because after I moved in with my wife, I was like, oh, great, I need some space, and there's no space there because she's got 2 kids and the mum. So I'm like, and the dogs were like, there's no space whatsoever. But I think I might need to make more use of the space in my container. This is just amazing. You've got like a projector here in your bedroom, and you've got like wood cladding there at the back. It's not the right word, but that'll do. Okay, right now, but I'm just excited about what you've kind of like done with this place. We've done with the place. It's amazing. But this has become like a review of your house now, which is great.
But not
like,
the point.
But no, the point. But the thing is now, the marine biology, right? What triggered you to do that?
Initially,
yes,
I just loved whales and dolphins. But that was when I was 5 years old, and I thought that's what marine biology was whales and dolphins. So, yeah. But then everything, my whole life, every book report had some nautical theme to it. When we chose countries or places to write reports on, they always had to do with coral reefs and Belize, and and every animal was always an ocean animal. And then, my whole life, just everything was geared towards that.
That was one of my things. I wanted to be a marine biologist as well. But I only got triggered because I saw the film Jaws. I was like, oh, it's going to be all about sharks.
Oh, no. I have not seen Jaws. I don't do scary movies. Right. Not at all. Right. Like, nothing. Yeah. Nope. It was amazing. But then I think I held on to it. I saw the microbiology aspect of it, and that didn't excite me. So... that's why I moved away from it.
Algae and more algae and
my
stuff
thesis
like
was on the effect of UVB light on HSP70 in the diatom Thalassiosira pseudonana.
Yeah, right.
I believe it. I say diatom. It was either a dinoptom or a dinoflagellate. Just embarrassing that I don't remember. One of the two. But in any case, it was all about heat shock proteins. And, like, I got a really great response and findings. But then I was like, just do it one more time and you can publish a paper. And I was like, or I could quit right now.
Did you finish the degree and you moved to architecture? Or?
Yeah, I did. So I did 2 years of a master's in architecture. And then I moved schools and got a master's in landscape architecture. After I graduated, the chair of my department was like, you should go work with this woman. And she had an office in London and an office in Boston. And so I told her that I wanted to move to London. So I came. Worked with her for a while, and she's one of the top landscape architects in the world. Excellent. And then I was on a site visit in Finland and was told over the phone that my whole office was being made redundant because this was 2009 and things were not great. So then I sold out, went corporate, so I could stay in London, which was fine because I worked on the 2016 Rio Olympic Park as well, which was amazing. And then after that, it just got way too corporate-y, and I started stand-up and decided that's what I wanted to do. I kind of quit 2 years ago. My day job, but I've never technically quit. I just kind of took a sabbatical for 3 months and never went back.
Right. So you're like, I'll be back later, just having a bit of time off.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Just started researching some designs. It's fine,
Yeah, I know. So I should probably quit at some point. But I just kind of was like, if stand-up doesn't work out, I want to go back. But at this point, I don't have an email address. They've taken me off. No. Like, I'm done.
So you're full-time stand-up now?
Yes.
Full-time.
Yeah.
So what's your mission for the next year, apart from writing your hour show?
I broke my ankle in December. Yeah. Which had pre-existing injuries. So beginning in December, I got neurovirus, followed by tonsillitis, followed by breaking my ankle, all within like 3 or 4 weeks of each other. Then I was on bed rest for 2 months. I haven't been able to walk. So I lost out on a big chunk of time. As such, I am not doing my first hour this year.
Right.
So I'm doing 45 minutes again at the Fringe, just trying to figure out what I am doing, but I've been working on it. It's a show called Robyn's Bad Decision Time. Yeah. Fitting that a bad decision is what caused me to not write the show. I think that's irony. Not totally sure. Because I had already had ankle injuries, so 5 hours before I flew back from the States, I was like, I'll go ice skating. Yeah. What could happen? Then that happened. It's been a good show. It's about quantitative versus qualitative self-worth. Okay. Is what it is. Looks at my family and how my dad is a very engineering, math, science-based brain, and my mom, who is very not based in logic and all emotion, how those two minds have shaped my decision-making process and going through life, deciding to do things that are half based on emotion and half based on scientific theory, but not a normal way, and looking at where those personality traits come from, but then also not just my decision-making process, but also how I value myself. Right. It's been interesting realizing a lot about myself writing the show as well, I'm really confident in all the things about me that I can measure, like my brain. I can go, I have a master's from the best school in the world. Check. Like, I got these marks. Check. Like, I know I can swim this fast. I know that my boobs are the perfect size. Like really anything that you can quantitatively measure, I have confidence in. And then everything that you can't, like the ability to have a not psychotic text message banter with a member that you're interested in. Yeah. No, you can't. There's no right or wrong answers to that. There's no this is the proper text. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably things that I shouldn't do, like not text back 15 times. That's chaos, pretty quantitative. Oh my God, it is ridiculous. Yeah. You
don't know how it's going to go. You're like, that's why it's so stressful getting a reply text.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's just personality. And so that's that aspect of my life I have no confidence in.
But I think everyone struggles with that, doesn't it? Everyone struggles with that personality.
Well, I don't know. There are some people who are very confident about their personality and don't have good reason to be.
Yeah, but do you think they're just putting a good front on?
All right, when you see people that get off stage, there's two types of comics. There is the comic that gets off stage and is like, That was good. Yeah, no matter what. They could have stormed, like could have died, whatever. Good. Then there's the comic that gets off stage. It goes, how do I make that better? Like, what did I do wrong there? How could I, like they could have stormed it, but they could have gone at about 5 minutes, 30 seconds in, I said that, and I stumbled over a word. And there's those two kinds of mentalities. Yeah. And I think the former, stormed it every single time, done it, great. I think a lot of times there are people out there that don't know that they are anything different.
Yeah, they're just locked in their head. They're like, everything. My reality is amazing. My reality is the best thing. Yeah. So when did you start?
End of November 2011 was my first gig.
And why did you start?
It looked fun.
It looked fun. You're just like, I just want to do this.
Yeah.
Well, I can
just
do
try
this.
it. No. I did a comedy course, so just did the course on a whim. It looked fun. First time I held a mic, first day of the course, we were supposed to just talk for a minute about us, not be funny, just talk. And I remember calling my sister after the course and being like, in one way or another, I will be doing this for the rest of my life.
That's great. Whose course did you do?
Chris Head. Fantastic course. Definitely recommend it. It's 10 weeks long, like once a week, and I left it with 5 to 7 minutes of material that was solid. Not, I say solid, but as solid as you can get if you've never done comedy before. But it really was like a great course.
When you finished that course, what happened then? What was the trajectory? Was it like, done the course, guys, I'm nailing this, right?
Yeah,
and then...
I think I can headline most clubs now.
Yeah, exactly.
Paperwork.
What was the journey in there at that point?
So we had a graduation course, which went well. I did Jesters was my second gig.
Oh, downstairs?
Yep.
I love that.
But downstairs in Farringdon,
The one that smelled of mold.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember I remember because I'd obviously the first gig that I ever did, and I didn't go to open mics beforehand. Yeah. I'd only seen comedy live probably 5 to 10 times tops, and I remember all the gigs. My first live gig, I was 17 years old. Ingrain came in doing coral reef research, and we went out, and I saw Mitch Hedberg live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
It was amazing. It must have been 98, I think. Yeah. And still remember some of his set list today. Yeah. It was awesome. And then after that, I went to the Comedy Store twice while I was in London. I definitely saw the same act, coincidentally, twice, because I remember thinking like, oh, I've already seen this joke before. Went to some Improv Boston stuff in Boston, and then saw a gig in Clapham Junction where I saw Boy with the Tape on his face. It was amazing. So it only seemed like a handful of pro nights, so I had never gone to an open mic. And I went to my first open mic, because the graduation show was like sold out, all of your friends, like really nice audience, like one of the best gigs you ever go to. Everybody wants you to succeed. Yeah. So the second one I did, and I just remember being there with my sister, because she had flown over to see my gig. Amazing. And Dangerous T walks down the stairs. And I my sister and I were like, Jenner and they were like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what? Did they just gonna let him on stage? Having no idea he was a comic because he's so engrossed in his character. Yeah. And I didn't even know what character comedy is. So it wouldn't have even occurred to me that somebody could be a character, whether or not Dangerous T is a character, but I'm assuming he's... I
didn't know. I mean, you've blown my mind there. I didn't know.
Well, I don't know. It's weird. Some people skate the line. There's not really characters, but, I mean, there are definitely people that are such an exaggeration of themselves that it almost is a character. Yeah, but I just remember my sister and I being like, stand-up comedy! And then when he got on stage and actually did jokes, we were like... Yeah. Oh, he's like written them.
Wow.
So then that was gig number 2. I think gig number 8 or 10 was a Mirth gig. It was my first open spot, booked to do a 10. Definitely had 7 or 8 minutes that I gloriously tried to stretch out. It was it was not a great gig, and for the first 6 months of my comedic career, I only had career. Yeah. First 6 months of me doing open mics, I only had dirty material. Yeah, so that was nice to do in Walton-on-Thames. And I've never seen... Yeah, Mark Felgate was headlining. I've never seen him get angry at an audience before. But they were just not nice. And he almost got off the stage and refused to perform. So it was gig 8 or 10. Somewhere around gig 30 or 40, I got a wild card into the Bath New Act final. It was the year that Harriet Kemsley won. And I was the only person in the final who had been going less than a year. And the final was on a Sunday in Bath.
Yeah.
And I had 8 minutes of just filth. And that is not what a bunch of, like, middle-aged women in Bath want to hear on a Sunday night. Like, it's just, it was, I did my set. Got my first bad review.
Oh, no.
But it was like, it's almost, I mean, I actually had this great moment because I was emceeing the Bath New Teats a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and Jeff Whiting, who runs the competition, just came to be one of the judges. So I'm like going through and I was like, in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it clean the whole time. But we get to like the last section and somebody had done a bit about jizz, and so I brought up the Bath final and I could just see Jeff in the corner being like, oh my god, like, stop telling these people that you died. And I was like, competitions are hard. I remember when I was in the finals of this competition, and Jeff was just like, oh my god, shut up. And I'm like, because I was there, and the review was like, are the new acts any good? Emphatically yes, with the possible exception of an American girl who just had a spectacularly obscene rant about her genitals. Yeah.
That was your review?
That was my first review.
Wow.
Which one of my comic friends was like, spectacularly obscene. That is an excellent pull quote.
Exactly.
I was like, oh yeah, no, actually, that is great. Yeah, that's good. It still remains to be in my top 5 worst gigs ever.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Is it one you can like go, every time you look back up?
Every time I'm like, oh. Do you know what's interesting, though, is that there was another comic had brought his flatmate to the final, and I started dating him after that, which was really odd. I was like, if you could see me die like that and still want to date me, okay. Yeah. All right. But no, who was else? It was Manos the Greek, who I don't think is still going, was in the final. Barry Ferns was in the final. Oh. Matt Dwyer, Amy Haverska. Great, yeah. Awful. That was my first proper death. Yeah. Though. I mean, like, we've all done the Lion's Den, but that was like my first.
That's a hard room, isn't it? That is a hard room.
It is. I know. Maybe I'll go tonight.
Yeah. Just to feel the pain.
I know. I'm like,
it's okay if you keep buoyant, though. If you have no problem with that as well. Robyn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing, so you could. But yeah, there is a difference between like. So I had a really bad one recently. Where was I? 'Cause I was up in East London. It was one of the Laugh Train homes, and it was. Oh, I haven't done that bad. To the point where, so I MC that one every other week, and Sarah Isles does the other week. And Sarah was doing a gig relatively close by, so came by just to say hi afterwards. And I genuinely almost got her on to MC the second half of the show. I was doing that badly. Like, they hated me that much. It was horrendous. Like, horrendous. I mean, one of the audience members did give me his number, but I think it was more of like a pity thing.
Oh, no, I need some joy here.
I know.
Give me some joy.
Oh, my God.
But that's how it goes sometimes, isn't it? That's how it goes.
God. It was so horrendous. So bad. There's a guy who came up in a wheelchair, and he was part of a group of 4 army guys in the front row, right? Now, he walked in, and I was like, oh, where do you... And he was like, I brought my own chair. So you could tell, like, it's not like it was somebody that had a good sense of humor, sat in the front row. Then one of the guys as part of the army group was just not, like, heckling, really rude, really obnoxious. And the guy in the chair was just starred in Jack Whitehall's School. Some sitcom about being in school. I don't know. So... the guy that was being not nice is like this jacked army guy with a bunch of tattoos, and is like, man, I was like, what do you do? And he's like, I'm in IT. And I'm like, you're not. Like, you're not. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. IT guys don't have biceps. Yeah. Like, they're just not. So they're going through, and then the guy in the chair was like, oh, I'm an actor. And I was like, oh, are you famous? He's like, yeah. And I was like, funny, I believe you more. Because normally when you're emceeing and people are like, oh, I'm an actor, I'm in a lot of famous things, you're like, you're not. Yeah. Like, you're not. And I was like, I believe you more than I believe that this guy's in IT. At which point the IT guy just starts accusing me of being... it was just really awkward, but there were only about 12 people in the room. So even though I was being completely normal and nice to everybody, it made everybody feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And then I start talking about my broken ankle, and it was 2 days after I was able to walk without an air cast. So I just say... so I was like, I'm just going to go into some material. I was like, I'm really excited I can walk. And it was like,
Just like, there's the wall. For some reason, I can't see this wall. That's it. But you're just like locked in and went a bit halfway through. You're like, oh no, I'm locked into this.
As soon as I said it, I was like, I'm so excited because I could walk today.
Oh,
and then
God.
his friend was just like, it was all over. All over.
Classic. It's like sometimes you just walk into these minefields, don't you? You're like, oh no, I've totally put
and the worst bit is,
it.
so the guy, I mean, he was in Jack Whitehall's sitcom, and he does stand-up, and he had been doing stand-up for a couple of years, but I think he took a break to get into TV, and he was talking to me after the gig, and he wasn't offended. It was just that everybody else felt so uncomfortable by my awkwardness. But I think it was like the most, I don't think he didn't mean it as an insult, but of course when I was really sensitive took it that way. But I was like, oh, can you see another comic that you haven't like heard of or run into on the circuit, especially in London? And he's like, I was like, oh, where do you gig? He's like, all over London. I was like, oh, I'm surprised I haven't seen you, meaning like, I'm surprised I haven't run into you on the circuit. And he was like, and he just goes, what gigs do you watch? As if I wasn't a comic and then I would only be seeing him if I was watching comedy. And I was like, man.
No. That's it. Like, dissing you every second. Like,
I don't think I'm hoping he didn't mean, maybe he did. I don't know. But yeah, it was
it's crushing.
Yeah. That also made the top 5 I don't know why I'm just highlighting all my worst gigs in my career.
No. You improv as well as MC?
No, I don't, and I really want to. I was supposed to do Second City at Angel, and then because I broke my ankle, I had to pull out. Very sad. Really want to do it.
Did you do any like performance stuff when you were a kid, or you're just like just total intellectual, and then?
I did like 4 plays when I was 11 or 12. I can't sing to save my life. It's hilarious. So there was one time I was the understudy to somebody, and they dropped out because I had a song. The director of the play was like, this is going to be interesting. It was in Oliver. I was like...
Who were you?
It wasn't even a big song. I was like the nanny of the new family that Oliver goes to. So I had to do the Where Is Love reprise. So I was like, where is love? Like, I can't. I'm such a bad singer. They were like, oh. So I did that. I was an accountant in Annie. Also not a very well-known part. I was in How to Eat Like a Child. That's it.
Yeah.
This is just, that's it. Like, it's just 3 plays when I was 11, 12 years old.
Do you pursue any acting or anything like that as well?
Nope. I mean, I would love to, but...
Yeah. What's been the biggest hive this year for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Apart from, like, getting that amazing quote from the Bath Comedy Festival.
I've gotten some good reviews.
No, of course you have. I know you're great. You're great.
I know. I MC for Angel a lot, which is always amazing. Yeah. I have my own club. Doing Edinburgh was great. I think my best moment of Edinburgh last year was, the show Hate and Live?
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically improvising on things that you hate. Just the first time I did the show ever, Rob Mulholland was on the panel, which I think he's won, like, more than most people. Right. And just had, like, the best comeback ever, to the point where all of Maggie's chamber, like 150 people, were like, what's up? Brilliant. And then I beat him, which was great. So I won Hate and Live, but yeah, it was a good moment. Because it was just one of those improvised moments where you're just like, in your face.
Nailing it. And how many years has that been going? That's been going 5 years, isn't it?
That show? No. At least 3. I think it's coming on its 4th.
They run it in London as well, don't they, Hate and Live?
Yeah, they're doing it actually at my club in July.
Brilliant.
Right. So I'm excited about that. We'll see how everybody takes it in Clapham Junction, which will be good. Something different. That was a nice high of the night. But I've also, I've done some cool shows. I did Comedy in the Dark. That was great in Edinburgh when they did it then. AAA was amazing to be a part of, but a very hard gig.
Is that the one for Pleasance?
Yeah.
What was hard about it? What was the problem with that? Are they very middle class? Are they uptight? Or what was the kind of audience? What was the situation?
I mean, it was 11 o'clock at night. It was tired, and it's a bunch of people who, they're just tired. You expect it to be rowdy, and it's not. And it's just, they don't know what they're looking for. I went through a year of low confidence after that as well. I had, but...
Because I saw you do your half-an-hour show with Dave Shawner in Edinburgh
that was...
in 2014, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because that was my first Edinburgh.
Nice.
I saw you do half an hour with Dave. Was it after that?
Yeah, it was the Edinburgh after that.
Yeah,
so after that, went through like a year of like questioning my material. Right. And then actually last year at the Fringe, like I just, all of a sudden after about 6 months was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to write a load of stuff, and I started to just become really happy with my material. I don't know what it was that flipped it. I don't know if it was just going, you know what, I am a good MC, but it started, I was writing a lot, and I remember so Russell Hicks, who's a good friend of mine, saw me at the beginning of the Fringe last year, and just afterwards was like, you've been writing. You've been like really, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I have. Actually, I do have good jokes. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Yeah. I'm not just going to be an MC forever. Yeah. I actually do. I mean, enjoy emceeing. It's been really nice. And started writing, embracing like the science side of it and talking about my family and which I'm really, really liking, which is good.
Unlocking your, who you are already on stage and making that funny.
I'm good friends with one of the guys who runs Hot Water in Liverpool, and I went up there for 3 or 4 days in November and designed their clubs. I don't know if you know.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
So I went up there with Binti and just put the architecture to good use. I've designed the whole bar and the venue, and it's hopefully will be done soon, but it's been really great to be a part of it. But being up there, did a spot, and after spending 4 days with him, Binti was just like, you know what, it's the more that I learn about you, the less impressed I am with your comedy, because you're so interesting as a person and you don't talk about any of it on stage. All you talk about is dating. And I was like, yeah, you are right. You are really right. Yeah, so I've just been trying to then take the math and science background that I have and then just re-filter it in.
What do your parents think of you pursuing the comedy as a career?
It's fine. I think it's they weren't happy when I ditched marine biology to go into architecture. I remember my mom saying, just get your PhD and then decide if you want to ditch it. Because they're very old school. And once I realized that it's great to have dreams, but it's pointless to have dreams if they're not going to change over time. You've got to be open to your dreams changing, otherwise you're not going to be happy when you get there. So I know where I want to be in 5 years, but I also have completely accepted the fact that it could be completely different than where I want to be tomorrow.
So what's the 5-year plan?
I love the fact that I'm a full-time stand-up, but I also need to do a lot of promoting and booking, and there's a certain chunk of my income that comes from that, and I would love to just perform and write. And I don't know, I mean, I'm close, but at the same time the live circuit is dying, so it's frustrating.
People keep telling me that it's gonna go away for 10 years then come back.
I don't know, you look at the States, this is my comments, not as a comic, but as a promoter. There's so much out there, especially in the last 10 years, you look at how much phones play a role in our life and how much there is on the internet and Twitter, Instagram. There's so much media, there's so much on offer that the most valuable thing becomes people's time, not necessarily money. I mean, obviously money when it comes to larger things, but when it comes to entertainment, spending £10 on a ticket is a drop in the bucket. It's, you'll spend the same thing on a burger. Yeah. And so it becomes more about not wasting people's time and proving, you have to, in order to sell people, it's not even necessarily the price of the ticket. It's the proving that it's going to be worth their time. Yeah. And the problem is that there's so many different ways to make somebody look good that with the rise of media and TV comedy, the general public is relying more on TV credits for that validation. Because you can't just say, this guy headlines clubs around the country. We did an open mic on Tuesday, and I was introduced as this girl headlines clubs around the country. I don't. That was a blatant lie. But nobody in that audience knew that. And I was like, I don't know why you just said, I've never told you that I've done that. But, there's nobody stopping you from doing that. So unless you have some sort of visual proof or guarantee that somebody's going to be funny, then the general public doesn't know that unless they are a comedy fan. Yeah. And so inherently, it's up to the performers to, prove themselves. Yep. And it sends up a really weird relationship because you then need TV names to sell a night. But then I think that it's going to sound very controversial, but it's something that it kills me that I can't just book whoever I want because I want to. And I know that some of the best comics not on TV. And I know it's up to me to create a reputation for the club that anybody can go and play there. And it's slowly getting there, but it'll take years. But what really helps is when you get all the support acts bringing their A game and showing up and being so good when they perform that they have to get booked to headline. But it's hard because there's a lot of animosity. So you get people either showing up and going, I'm going to be unstoppable. I'm going to be so good that you have to book me to headline. I'm going to be so good that you have to pay me more. And I'm going to be so good that people are going to walk away tonight going, yeah, that TV person was funny, but the best person on the bill was the opener. Right. And that would be ideal because then slowly the more that people go to clubs and the more people see live comedy, they know that actually you got to trust the club more rather than the credits. Yeah. But when people show up and go, I should be headlining this gig. I was headlining gigs 5 years ago. Now I'm only opening. I'm just going to chuck in a bunch of new stuff. I'm going to phone it in. I'm not going to try. The problem is like, sure, I know you're not getting paid to headline and that is not fair that the industry is changing, but it reinforces the stereotype to the public that you need TV credits to be funny. And so it's really hard to have to worry about that constantly. And the industry is changing, but I think that it's in the hand of the promoters to do it for the right reasons. It's in the hands of the promoter to generate a product that can be trusted regardless of who's on. And that comes with not ripping off acts, not ripping off the club, but actually paying what they want and actually trying and making sure that there's not 10 people in a room so that people actually come back. But it's also up to the acts to actually go, this is what's worth the money. I'm worth the money. Like, it's a tough thing.
You're trying to change people's just opinions of what the circuit is. So they go see live comedy now and they just don't have any respect for it.
Right.
As you say, because people do exactly what you said there. They just go and go, oh, do a couple
charge
of new material.
£5 to do a new material night or charge £5. Not a new, because you can get pro acts doing new material and that is worth £5. But you're charging £5 to go see an open mic. Really?
Exactly.
Have a bucket at the end. Absolutely. People can pay what they think it's worth. That's fantastic. But like mis-selling nights, it's frustrating. And so I think that the live circuit doesn't have to die, but then you look at the States and go, you look at all the clubs in the States and, you know, you're either famous or you're nothing. Yeah. Like, I go back there and people are like, I can't believe you've been going only 5 years and you're making a living out of it. And it's because people actually invest in live comedy. People will pay money 7 nights a week to see comedy. Yeah. But we have to not abuse the general public's willingness to do that. The trust. Because it only takes 1 or 2 nights of them paying £5 to go see a no-name open mic comedy night that is not worth that, and then they never see live comedy again, and they don't know the difference between an open mic and a pro show because both of them have quotes. That's true. Both of them have stars. Both of them have the best comics on the circuit. You know, like, it's... Of course. Yeah. That's how many clubs do you run now? It's a hard question. So I have Left Train Home, which is every Wednesday in Battersea. We are starting at the Honor Oak on Tuesdays in June. And technically we're in Northeast London at People's Park Tavern. However, on Thursdays, we have our last show this week, taking a break over the summer. And that is one of those ones where I was not promoting that one. I was just booking it. And promotion is not working. And I, again, don't want to continue a club. The promotion is not. Yeah, it's not hitting. Not hitting. But did you take a break from all the clubs or just that one club? Just that one. No, yeah, Battersea runs every week. Yeah. And the Honor Oak, we're just doing June and July for previews and then starting up full-time in September. But see how it goes. And what else do you do to, like, you know, because as I say, it's difficult. You're promoting. Do anything else as well in the part-time to get you through the tough months? No, really. I mean, I book for Laughing Horse, and that's very random one-offs, corporate stuff. So but that's it. Do you do corporates yourself? No. I mean, if there is, I mean, I have done. Yeah. Yes. No, I mean, well, I write poems for my, not for, like, I've done it emceeing. I do it for bucket speeches, for Fringe as well. I'll write a poem throughout. Like, if I'm doing a two-hander or something, I'll write a poem or a compilation show and end each show with a poem about the audience and working into the bucket speech. So my water polo team asked me to do stand-up at the annual dinner, which is a massive piss-up, and, like, they had an after-dinner speaker a couple of years ago. They did not want stand-up. Like, I knew that. So I then talked to a couple of the coaches and the male captain, because there's, like, the women's team, the men's team, and a bunch of old men. And I secretly got a bunch of dirt, and then I wrote a roast poem. They all thought I was going to be doing stand-up. and I just came out and just pulled out dirt that nobody thought was public knowledge and just laid it out on the table, and it was amazing because they were like, "Where the hell did that come from?" So I've that's what I've done. Yeah,
That's cool. So, and do you write poetry as well, or?
Calling it poetry is like...
It's loosely...
It's not. It's rhyming couplets.
Right.
It's not poetry.
Okay, cool. You're not going to go to slam poetry nights now and go...
Oh, God, no.
This is it. This is about me and the world.
The first time I did it, though, because I used to write poems for my water polo team before every game as, like, psych up. And then when I was at my corporate job, anytime somebody would leave, I would write, like, a leaving poem and bring up, like, all of the dirt that they did, or like funny quirks, and make them humorous, and it was like the Robyn poem. The first time I did it was at the Brighton Fringe, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I was emceeing Pick of the Fringe. But I like tripped and like dropped a mic, but then kicked it and like hit this woman in the knee with the mic. It was so awkward, and I like had to go and get her ice. Like, it was ridiculous. And and so how I came up was when I did that when I was on stage, I was like, I need to like do something nice for her. I'll just write her a poem. So I just wrote her a poem like on the spot, and so that's cool. What I do. They're all like,
that's it. I mean, I'm sorry about your knee, but here's a poem. Look, I don't have any money, but this is my creative time I've spent writing this poem.
Exactly.
Got something to take home with you. Please don't sue me. And so you're doing Brighton soon in a couple of weeks, is that right?
A week and a half. The 5th.
And the preparation for that is going good?
I don't know. Well, you saw a preview a few days ago.
Yeah. That was great. I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Thanks. Like, I'm doing an hour in Brighton because I thought I was going to do an hour in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I am not doing an hour in Edinburgh. I think that I have 35 minutes that is good and coherent. Yeah. And then I have about 15 minutes which are being worked on, primarily tonight. It's going to take one gig. That's it now. And I really need to work on the ending, which is something that we were talking about as well, because it just got super cheesy. So I think I'm going to make a scrapbook for the end of the show, but I'm not really quite sure. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Where are you in Brighton?
So I'm at the Quadrant at 6 p.m. on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, which I really thought was a bank holiday. It means that I'm on a Monday that nobody's going to come and see me at 6
of course.
PM. So Quadrant at 6 p.m., 5, 6, 7th, and 8th, and then I'm at the Blue Man the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
What do you do in your time off, apart from, like, at the moment, fixing your ankle and not moving it as much? What do you do apart from that to kind of, like,
I cook.
You cook, that's your thing, yeah?
Yeah, I cook a lot. I love cooking. I've been cat sitting the last week. That's been fun.
Does that sound with a hint of sarcasm there?
I hate cats so much.
Are you allergic as well?
No, I wish I was. Then there'd be like a reason as to why I hate them. But no,
why are they just evil? And do you like dogs then?
Yeah, I'm a
big dog person.
They just don't give a shit about you.
That's true. I need something to need me as well. Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, and the only reason why those cats liked me is because, like, I'd be obnoxious to them and, like...
Yeah. You just gave them what they gave you. That's what it is, isn't it? They're like, that's
and then they're like, oh, but we want you to love us. And I'm like, I don't want to love you. They're like, please love us. But I did do an Instagram post every day on the cats, which I got more attention there than I have... So now I'm like, I know. And then I was like, I need to find another thing that I can do on Instagram every day. And now I don't know. Yeah,
it's clickbait, isn't it? That's all it is. But it's frustrating. What else do you write for? Do you write any sketches or any so just purely stand up?
No, I'm doing more storytelling nights, which I'm really liking because I know that I'm most engaging on stage when I'm telling stories anyway. Sure. Apart from that, I used to play water polo.
Yeah, before your ankle.
Yeah, before the ankle.
So you're going to go back to it?
Yeah, as soon as I can, but I need full reconstructive surgery in September. So it was injured before then. I'm really hypermobile. Yeah, which means I can bend in like weird ways. So yeah, like
handy for stage lunging.
I could get out of handcuffs.
Really?
Sure. I've never tried.
Wow.
So I realize that sounds bad.
No,
On my bed. I can get out of handcuffs.
No, keep going. Right. So handcuffs are no, not a problem. Hypermobile, right?
Yeah, and so basically tore all the tendons. I used to box quite a bit. So, but then, tore my tendon because of the boxing.
Right.
But then had surgery 6 years ago, was re-injured, got ignored by the NHS for a year and a half, despite me repeatedly going in and asking to see a specialist.
Helped me, yeah.
And I fell down the stairs, at which point they finally were like, oh, okay, you can see somebody. After I fell down the stairs, cracked a rib and injured the ball of my foot, finally got to see a specialist 6 to 8 months later.
Oh, okay.
Like, that was them fast acting. Then the guy just treated me like a number. Was like, just stick some cortisone in it. And I was like, there's a problem with my ankle. So, flipped out. Yeah. Paid a lot of money to go private for one appointment. Realized that I can't do that. Yeah. But then when I broke my ankle, stopped the doctor that I wanted and went to the A&E in his hospital. Yeah. It was like, it's really lucky that you came here. And I was like, no, it's not. And now I'm finally on their team. And for the first time in over 2 years, I have been listened to.
Oh, thank God. Right, yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, yes, you have the ankle of a 70-year-old woman.
Whoa.
You have torn tendons on the inside and the outside of your foot. You need your arch reconstructed. You need, the issue, basically they just, admitted everything that was wrong with my foot. Yeah. And were like, but because I had just had surgery fixing the bone, I can't go into surgery again because I have no muscle left in my leg.
Oh, whoa.
So I have to build up muscle for the next 4 months and then go into surgery again.
And that's going to be not painful at all, isn't it, building the muscle up? And you kind of need your both feet really to do stand-up, don't you? I mean, otherwise you're going to have the comic with a hook, isn't it? It's like, why would your leg? Well, last gig.
Yeah, I know. I have one 30-second aside that is funny. But...
but then you're like, it's my life and it hurts.
I know. I'm so sick of talking about it.
I'm sure I can see it right. Been back to the States to do comedy.
Yes. Yeah. I have a weird relationship with Boston. I'll gig when I go back. I'm not there frequently enough to be part of the scene, but I'm there often enough that I'm not just novelty visiting. I don't know. I'm in this weird in-between state. So there's a few gigs that I'll just do, but I also feel like unless I have a completely new 10 every time I go back, it's not worth it to go because they run through the material so often that it's I feel like I'm being judged and I don't love it.
Right, so New Hampshire's Boston, right?
No, I lived in Boston. I went to university in Cambridge. Right. So I lived in Boston before moving over here.
Hard rooms over there?
They're not hard. There's just not a lot of them. And it's just, again, the circuit is super small.
Is it, right?
Yeah. After gigging there for a week or two, you saw the same people over and over and over again. Okay. And yeah, it's tough. I need to. I'm being a weenie. I haven't gigged heavily there since I had my confidence drop. Okay. So I think that was part of it. And in December I was sick the whole time, so I just did I do a storytelling night every January when I go back. And so I should really go back. But there's I get self-conscious because I know that they're all judging me because I'm the foreigner.
You say, oh, that's great though. Because you feel that you're from there, yet you feel that you're not. Not. I get it.
So then they'll introduce me as a London comic, and I'll be like, "This is my accent." And then, but it's also everybody, because people are so curious as to styles across seas that, I mean, if an American comic came over here and was visiting, everybody would be like, I want to watch the American comic, so it's not their fault that they are, but then I get really self-conscious, oh, I'm good enough, and I don't like it, and so I don't know. And their open mics are something else. Oh my God, there's one every Tuesday that a friend of mine runs, and I mean, I've taken photos of the sign-up list because everybody who wants to can sign up. And everybody gets 5 minutes. And it gets 55, 60, 70 people long. And it just starts at 9, no break, just all the way through. And it is the very first gig I did in Boston. my sister came, because again, my sister like wanted to be there for my first gig in Boston because she's such a good friend. But she had like twin boys that were less than a year old. She has like this really high-powered job, like had to be up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're sitting there at like 1:45 in the morning. And at that point, like, I think we got there at 8 because the guy running it was like, show up. Like, you don't have to show up early. Other people do, but don't worry about it. You come from London. It's fine. So I show up. I was like, oh, I'm the one who emailed you. Now, the thing in hindsight, if I had said I'm the one from London, he would have like bumped me to the top of the list. But I said, I'm the one who emailed you. And he was like, yeah, like everybody else has emailed me.
Of course.
So I went to the back of the line. And then at 1:45, I was like, it's just, I'm over here from London. He was like, no.
Oh.
And so put me on, but my sister was like waiting. And the thing is, they don't have audience members either. It's just comics. But then most of the comics are in the back of the room talking to each other because it's like quite a social thing. And so you're basically talking to a crowd that nobody is listening. And it's just the most heartbreaking thing. I don't know. But then if you know people, then you like go together. Like if we were to go together, then we both listen to each other's set and they like, oh, that thing you did there was great and da-da-da. You know, like the cake that I was at last night was excellent for that reason. But oh man, it's just and so you get absolute nutters as well. They go up there like, I don't want to. Guy who's my friend who MCs it. You know, I can remember the first time I went with him and he was like, you're with me, so I'll put you on early in the night. How about 12th, 13th? And I was like, oh my God, that's early in the night. And then afterwards I was like, oh no, that's early in the night. That is the sweet spot, because the first 5 people are still figuring out that the open mic has started. So the first 5 people really don't get listened to. And so the sweet spot is between like 7 and 15. And you're like, oh my God, it's so hard to fathom. And so this absolute knitter goes up there and says horrible things. And he just goes up there as the MC afterwards and was like, all right, if any of you guys in the audience were playing open mic bingo, feel free to cross off racism, like murder and robbery. We almost hit pedophilia, but I think we ran out of time. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was just like anything.
Wow.
Wow.
That's still 50, 60 people on an night.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh man,
yeah.
That's coming from, because you're learning comedy here, and then going back to Boston to do comedy. Do you notice a massive change in style in the way you would deliver something?
I have a very British style, with an American accent, so it's a bit weird. But yeah, a very British style, and it's...
Dissect it. What is the difference?
There's no fat on their words over there.
Right.
And there's not... Granted, this is, again, 3 years old, so... Because I haven't really gigged a lot there, but it's more about the writing. And I should say that this is just Boston. Right. All right? Like, I don't really know a lot about any of the other cities, and I know that Boston is very unique in its stand-up and very unique in the way that it raises stand-ups. Yeah. But it's very writing heavy, like very dry delivery, like there's no fat on any of the jokes, there's no extra words, there's no like, it's not really about the performance of it, it's about like the actual jokes. But it's hard to describe the style, but it like Nigel Ong has a very American style. If you've seen him, like,
there's no going higher or bigger on the end. You got to be the joke has to be solid, or it's not going to land at all. Like,
but it's also not like a lot of activity or action, or you're not getting extra laughs because you're making funny faces. It's just like the writing's good. And one of my friends had explained that in the first 4 years that you're doing stand up in Boston, like they know that nothing that you write in the first 4 years you're gonna be using later on in your career. It's just not going to be good enough. So you might as well use your first 4 years to learn how to write. So they just chuck out material all the time. Right. Constantly. Yeah. You just write it, throw it out, write it, throw it out, write it, throw it out. And so you're not honing or like there's not that process of like, I'm going to hold on. I have a joke that I did in my very first gig. I've done it on stage over 1,000 times. And granted, the joke has changed tremendously. There's a lot more punchlines, every beat, every word in that is like I could do it in my sleep, and it's a solid joke, but I've been doing it too long. Yeah. I should throw it out. I won't, but I should throw it out. Yeah. I should also listen back to how it was the first time I did it. I'd be interested to hear that. Anyway.
The evolution. Do you have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of stuff? Yeah. And do you go through those notebooks?
No. I mean, since the evolution of the smartphone, I have a note that I keep adding to, and sometimes I'll go through that. But
do you get paranoid that it's going to update, it's going to wipe it? I always get paranoid.
Because any idea that I've had that is worth it, I don't write enough.
Right.
I should write more.
Right.
I need to write more. This is why, because I am so easily swayed. This is why I don't want the responsibility of promoting or booking at all. Because even if I have just like a tiny bit of booking or promoting to do, I will let that take up my whole day and not write at all. So I have nothing else to do except for write. Then it'd be great. I could just wake up and write. But now I'm like, oh, but I was supposed to do that thing, and I was supposed to do that thing, and I was supposed to, I could just do that, and like, oh, what are we going to do? Speaking of which, have I tweeted recently? Or
I mean, I have this problem as well now. Like, I've got like 5 things to do on in the day, and I go, right, I'll do that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I've done that one thing, but then these 3 things, there's like at least 3 hours in between that thing and the other thing. Oh, it's cutting things a bit fine. Do you ever get that?
I would never be able to write in 3 hours.
Exactly.
I know, like just the comment go comment before. He's like, I've been putting my phone on airplane mode because I can't focus otherwise. It's constantly going, and I know I need to just put it on airplane mode. Wake up, first thing you do, write.
That's it.
But
it's like going for a run or distractions or whatever it is like that, isn't it? It's like, right, I need to do this now. And do you meditate as well? You don't meditate. I've just started to try and meditate, right, and it really has helped an awful lot. It just shuts my brain down that little bit to just go, right, okay, it's level now. It's like the beginning of the morning, you know? It's like that morning when you go, okay, I'm not thinking about anything, and then you pick up the phone, and then it's all over. As soon as you pick the phone up, it's all over. Because then when you're just staring at it, you don't know why you're staring at it for.
Isn't that just sleeping in?
Like with meditation?
Yeah.
Yes, but you have a choice. But it feels like you're doing something correctly. It's like, oh, this fine. But then you're like, you've already brushed your teeth, you already had a wash, you're sitting there.
I haven't brushed my teeth yet.
Okay. But that kind of thing, you know? So start meditating, it helps.
But that means I have to brush my teeth first. No,
just adding more to my list, Winter.
I know. I have a to-do list out there that's genuinely 32 things long.
That's too big.
I know, but there's like,
No, I had that as well. That was crushing me. I was literally being crushed under the weight of that list. I had about the same amount. I was like, an A4 foolscap. I was like, the post-its, always just 3. And I mean, I'm only just learning this, right? And occasionally I will look at that other big list and go, I can't do it. But now I've just started to do the...
I can usually get through 15 or 20 things in a day.
Yeah, you see...
Quantitative self-worth. Yeah.
The queen of multitasking then.
Yeah, this is why I like working for myself. Because the thing is that even if you're procrastinating, I procrastinate productively.
Okay. So it's
I procrastinate one thing by doing something else.
You just improv.
So then so I will get things done, but usually it's the admin side of things rather than the writing things.
In a way, that's a good way to work as well.
To be really efficient with admin, yeah.
Because you surprise yourself, don't you? You go, oh, I'm doing this thing now. Oh, this was a thing that I didn't want to do, but I'm avoiding this other thing over here that I don't want to do.
And then all of a sudden your house is clean. It's amazing.
Yes. And so it doesn't seem too much like work then, and you'll eventually get round to that other thing. But it'll take a while.
Because you get sick of doing the thing that you're procrastinating with, and then all of a sudden that becomes the most fun.
That's it. Interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting method. It's sort of like just fumbling around doing the list without actually doing the list.
Yeah.
Tai Chiing the list then, really, isn't it? You're not really. Tai Chiing with improv.
Nice.
That's it. What have you got coming up in the next few weeks or months?
If you want to see my show, I am in Brighton, London, and Edinburgh. So it's all on robynperkins.com with the Y, Robyn, like the singer, but I can't sing. It's not the same thing. Right. But I'm at the Quadrant 5th, 7th, and 8th at 6 p.m. I'm at the Blue Man the 18th, 19th, and 20th at 5:45. Then I'm doing a preview in London at the Four Thieves on July 9th. And then I have nights that I host. I'm in Battersea almost every Wednesday. I will be at the Unroke every Tuesday over the summer, and then September I'm at Angel like 4 or 5 times a month hosting there. And I'll be doing some work in progresses there as well, which will be fun. And apart from that,
we can find you on Twitter at
Robyn H. Perkins.
Robyn H. Perkins.
And on Instagram at Miss_Robyn_. I'm liking Instagram more. See my cat posts. Like my cat posts. Miss Robyn.
Well, Robyn Perkins, thank you for coming on the Comedy Defect. It's been great. Thanks.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
And that was episode 47 with Robyn Perkins. Very funny comic, great MC. She MCs The Angel 4 or 5 times a month for Barry Ferns. Go check her out in London. She's also taking her first hour show around the country in London, Brighton and Edinburgh. The dates for the Brighton one are in May, which is 18th, 19th and 20th of May at 5:45 in the Blue Man. There's a date in London, which she's previewing her show, and the show is called Robyn's Bad Decision Time. The preview date for London is July 9th in the Four Thieves. You can see the time for that on Robyn's website, which is robynperkins.com. Robyn with a Y. Go find her on YouTube. Go follow her on Twitter. Go find her on Facebook. Go follow her on Instagram. She's got loads of cat pictures she's going to be putting up soon. She's a great comic. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. You can follow me at WinterPhoneender. You can also come see my live stand-up gig dates, which are on my website, which is winterphoneender.com. And details of my previews of my hour show at the moment called Tolerance, that's going to change, are on my website, which is winterphoneender.com. I need you there to bounce some stuff off, to work some stuff out. I'm also looking at the Guinness Encyclopedia, taking as many jokes out of that encyclopedia as I can and putting them on Twitter under the title The Book Dad Read. Twitter handle for that is @GuinnessJokes. As I said to you before, after episode 50, this podcast will be reduced to 1 or 2 a month. It will still be released on Wednesday. To keep updated of all the things that are happening on the Comedy Defect, join the Comedy Defect Facebook group. If you want to support this podcast, you can. Go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast, and can donate as little as £1 or as much as you feel this podcast is worth. And those of you that do donate, thank you, because you're paying for the people that can't. And those of you that can't donate, that's okay. Just share your favourite episode. Tell your friends about it. Go to iTunes and leave us a nice, honest review, because it tells people where we are and what we're doing. And that's it for this episode, episode 47 of the Comedy Defect Podcast. Next week, we've got a very funny comic. He's been going 10 years. He's gigged all over the world. It is the very funny Julian Dean. And that is for episode 48. We'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great weekend.